Thank you for being here. For those of you that we haven't seen since the season ended, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and welcome back to Orlando City Stadium. Joining us today for the official 2018 Media Day press conference is Orlando City SC CEO Alex Leitao and Orlando City SC head coach Jason Kreis. Alex, Orlando City is heading into its fourth season in MLS. Can you get us started by giving us your overall thoughts heading into the March 4th opener?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased, very excited about this season. We had a very, very busy off-season. Jason, his team, Nikki, I think they did an incredible job and brought talent to the group, good characters to the group. So I'm very pleased about the team that we have now. This was part of the strategy we talked about after the end of last season. When at this moment last year we decided to move what we call the one step ahead, and we saw the other teams in our conference, they did two steps. So we thought that there was a time for us to move and doing something stronger in terms of making our roster better. So I'm pretty confident and happy. Of course, it's when you bring a lot of players, there is a risk involved in that. But I'm really happy, and I think we're going to have a very strong team for this season.
Thank you, Alex. Jason, you've had a few weeks with the group. What are your thoughts going into the season, and what are some of your goals?
I also would reiterate what Alex said and say that it's been a very difficult and very busy off-season for us. We're making some bold moves, as everyone can see. And we're doing that with a particular goal in mind, and that is to improve the team to a level where we're competing week in and week out, to a level that hopefully we can make the playoffs. That remains everybody's first and foremost objective in our league, and it is for us in 2018. There could be no doubt about it. The preseason so far, we're 2 weeks in, and it's been interesting because we just in that 2 weeks we've added 2 or 3 players, and so it seems like every day I'm introducing a new player to the group. But it's exciting, and the mentality of the group and the passion that the group is training with and the camaraderie that the group is showing towards each other and towards the coaching staff is second to none. And so you, as a coach, you tend to try to judge things at this point of preseason more on the spirit and what the players are willing to give and how much the players are willing to learn. And on those 3 things, I can say I couldn't be more pleased. Tactically and technically, we know we have a lot of work to be done over the next 4 weeks to prepare ourselves for a very difficult season. But we believe in the group that we have. We believe in these guys, and we believe that this is going to be a special year for Orlando City Soccer Club.
Thank you, Coach. At this point, we will open up for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand and state who your question is for.
Thank you. Alex Leitao, en español, para Telemundo Orlando. ¿Cómo han logrado adquirir tantos jugadores de diferentes partes del mundo y de la MLS? Y si es saludable tener esa combinación de veteranos con más jóvenes.
Okay, yo voy a intentar hablar en español. Sabes que mi español no es muy bueno, pero vamos. Yo pienso que es importante para el grupo que tengamos jugadores experientes, que possa pasar confianza, pasar profesionalismo para los más jóvenes. Entonces yo pienso que hacemos muy bien en esta off-season, donde buscamos este tipo de jugadores para nosotros.
Next question, Mike Bianchi.
Yeah, I've heard you guys during this the past couple weeks stress. There was a press release last week about Kyle stressing character. Jason, I've heard you reference character to this roster as well. Has that been an issue, and does this club have more character, do you think?
I think it's important to understand what we're speaking of when we speak of character. It's not more character, it's better character. Because I do think that this group has always had personalities, big personalities. From my point of view, what we saw last year with the things that were happening off the field was alarming. And we weren't happy about it. And we tried to address that the best way we knew how, which was discipline during the season, but also in the decisions that were made in the off-season. There are people that aren't back that suffered because of that. And we felt a strong desire to have better professionals here that were more serious about what they're doing and are like-minded with us. We want guys that want to compete. We want guys that want to win. We want guys that feel the pain when we don't win because we feel that. And we've gone out with that particular objective, and I think we've done a great job of adding every single player that's come here has sat down with me and looked me in the eye and told me that they want to win and they want to be here for the right reasons.
Nigel?
Look, yeah, look, I will start asking you guys to understand and respect the fact that it's going to be the last time I'm going to speak about this player, right? I've been in this business for so long, more than 17 years. So I can testify that we didn't overreact of what happened. You don't see that happen very often, this kind of situation, for the simple reason, for a situation like that happen, you need to have in one side a player that doesn't respect the club, doesn't respect contract, don't care about the group, and this is exactly what we saw from Kyle. So a player that just decided to get out of the city and to present himself and just observe or follow the contract and everything he signed before. So when that happened, we engaged, of course, the club. We explained and showed that the player had contract with us, and then they come back and start to negotiate, right? At this moment, we have a conversation and see what's the point to force a player like that with that character, with that personality, a troublemaker. What's the point to bring a player like that back to the club? So we decided to, better if we do it and do it fast in order to put our efforts and the focus on the players that we have, on the roster that we have to build, looking forward to the season. So we decided to engage in negotiations with the Turkish club, and then ended up in a very good, in my opinion, a very good negotiation and result for us as a club. So that's exactly what happened. There was no overreaction for our side. This is not something that happens every day, and the reasons because players are becoming much more professionals, and that's not what happened with that gentleman when he left this club.
Nigel?
This is a question for both of you. I'm at the back. What is the future for the development of players, given that OCB and the academy have had some changes and OCB's gone away? And what were the reasons for those decisions?
I can start here, Jason. The reason that we made those moves just to make our youth and our development better and stronger. It's because we believe in that, because we want to develop players. That's why we made the decision of first make the partnership with Montfort, and second, trying to find a league or a way inside USL that would make them better for us in terms of developing players. Right now, what happens is we almost double the investment that we did in the past. We can offer to players a residence academy, a full scholarship, a proper infrastructure. We have coaches there with UEFA license A. So with the better fields and better structure, better coaches, and a place that we can offer everything that I mentioned to you, we believe that we can better develop the players. And the other side, what happened with the USL when we came there and discussed with them, the USL now is moving to a direction, the second tier division in the country, that they want players with experience and in the proper stadiums. And what we want is just to play the young ones. So we are kind of going in a separate direction. Instead of continue to be in a process that it's not right and wrong, it's just the visions are different. We are waiting to see what happens with a possible Division 3 or D3 or Division 2 inside USL, whatever. We have to understand better what's going to happen, and then together with the MLS, see if there is a room and possibility for us to coming back. This is what we want. We want to come back and play next year, and that kind of division when we will be able to play the younger players and then get them developed. That was the reason.
Okay, so what's the future of the Lake Nona development now?
The Lake Nona, it's the project that we want to put our professional teams being there as a training facility for the MLS and the Orlando Pride. There's nothing changed on that. We hopefully start building this year in order for next year having both teams practicing there.
Mike Ramajo.
Actually, this is for either Jason or Alex. I guess staying with the whole development thing, regarding now this year, is there any talks about probably affiliating with a USL club to get some of the younger or players that are not going to be playing with the first team as much so they can get some playing time in the USL? Or is there any talks about that, or how is that kind of being planned out?
Yeah, there are current talks going on about that, and I would expect that we will have a firm partnership with a USL franchise. I do also think that that this brings up another opportunity that we have now with Montverde, and I believe that this affiliation and partnership that we have with them is nothing but a fantastic opportunity for everybody involved. And that final piece for me is can we get together with the Montverde group, the oldest players there, and some of the youngest players or guys that aren't playing regularly in first team matches for us, and can we create matches for those players to all collectively play together? So now we have a very strong link directly between our academy, the under 18 team, and the youngest portion of our roster, and put those players together to play matches. So we're looking for couple solutions. Yes, partnership with USL, but also creative matches involving the top end of our academy and the guys that aren't playing the matches on the weekend.
We'll go to Joe Kepner up top.
Oh, there it is. A lot of the moves you made in the offseason seemed to be focused on the offense. Do you feel like the club did enough to address the defensive side of the ball, and could we see more moves before the season begins on that side of the ball?
Yes, you're correct in that we did make quite a few moves with the offense, but I do think that we added a left back, a left center back, 2 holding midfielders, and so I would say maybe we're just not looking quite in detail enough at the defensive signings that we have made already. Finally, I do think that there will be one more signing, and that will be in the defensive side of things. So, from my point of view, it's we added players all over the field, and I think as I said before, we're very, very happy with all of the signings we've made so far, and we intend to make one more, which we are going to be happy with as well.
We'll go to Alicia.
Hello. You guys always talk about leadership and character and better character, every season. Are you close to knowing who might step up and replace the leadership role that Kaká vacated when he left?
Jason?
Pressure's on, huh? The answer is no. The answer is that we have a group of players that we are very closely watching how they're working and how the dynamic is within the team, and we will choose a captain out of that group, and we may choose a couple of captains out of that group. We may do things a little differently. We may not have just one guy that's the club captain. We may have a small group of guys that are the club captains. But I do think that we have some terrific candidates, and we're watching them over the next month to make a decision before the first regular season match.
We'll go to Adam Shadoff.
Alex and Jason also, have you guys ever been involved in such a flurry of activity in one off season like this? And was there a sense of urgency in order to get a winner out there right now?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned before, I think that this off season we decided to go further, to make more moves and trying to bring the winning mentality in order to fulfill what we want in terms of objective, which is winning and being in the playoffs. I think it was necessary. We discussed about that. We know the risks of this when you bring a lot of new guys, but I have totally confident and trust in Jason and his coaching staff in order to organize those guys and make them playing as a team and get the results.
Have you ever been in part of so many trades in one off season?
No, I don't think so. Jason,
I have. Yep. When we took over Real Salt Lake in May, I think, of 2007, from that moment until the middle of 2018, so 1 year on, briefly, or right around there, we changed 25 of 28 players. And so from the time that we took over here until right now, I believe we've changed 21 of 28 players.
Jason, can you please speak to, with all of these moves that we're discussing, there's going to be nearly 5, 6, could even be upwards of 7 of new starters. How do you bring in that culture? How does that work with the guys that were already here?
Yeah, we project it to be around 5 new starters. I think you could be right. Could be 6 to 7. And I think, right away as I answer that question, I wanted to grab it right back and tell you that for me, this is something that needs to change, is that there aren't starters. There are it's one big team, and they're going to be competing every single day to decide who the starters for the weekend are. But it isn't starters and reserves. For me, I'm not kidding when I say this. I really like, both from a character point of view and a soccer point of view, every single player that's on our roster. And that is difficult for a coach, because sometimes it's easier when you have some guys that maybe you don't like so much, because it's easier to leave them out. But it's not going to be easy for us this year, because we're going to have to be leaving players out all the time that we really like and have a ton of respect for, and have a ton of belief in what they can bring to our team.
Go to Jorge.
Alex, en español, si puedes. Fue muy duro cambiar de un jugador de marketing como lo era Ricardo, que hacía la función de marketing también en el equipo, por en este momento no tener un jugador que sea relevante en marketing.
Penso que Kaká foi muito importante para nós, especialmente quando empezamos o time nesta liga, e para que o clube fosse assim conhecido e que consigamos buscar fãs e aficionados. Para mim foi muito importante. Agora Ricardo se foi, então a estratégia foi de utilizar os recursos para para reforzarmos todos os pontos do time e do equipo, e estamos muito felizes com isso. Eu penso que o marketing mais importante agora é ganhar juegos, e assim vamos estar muito bem.
We'll go to Austin.
Jason, how do you feel the new guys have adjusted to the team, specifically some of the younger guys like Josue?
I think that they're doing an excellent job, really excellent job, and it's twofold, right? I mean, in any relationship, it's always, there's two sides of the street. There's one side about a new player coming in and being open to new ideas and new culture and being led by people, and then there's the other side, which is the guys that have been here and the leaders of the group being open to grabbing hold of those guys and welcoming them in with open arms and leading them by example. And both sides of the street right now are operating extremely well. So as I said before, from my chair, what I'm basically judging things on right now is team camaraderie, team chemistry, and I couldn't be happier.
Go to Mike Bianchi.
Yeah, for Jason, obviously everybody loved Kaká, but in some ways, is it easier being a coach when you don't have a global icon on your team?
I don't think so, really. I mean, I know that it's common thinking to believe that what a difficult challenge that would be for me, but it wasn't. I mean, he is an amazing person. Amazing soccer player is one side of things, but I think he's a better person than he was a player, to be honest. And never gave me any leadership problems. Always wanted to try to help me to lead the rest of the group. So, no.
Go to Victor.
For you, Coach, now that you've had 2 weeks with Josue, what are some of the qualities in terms of being a number 10 have you seen from him, and both on a soccer level and an intangibles level? And then do you see that kind of in him now?
Yeah, so just so we're clear, Josue trained for the first 4 or 5 days and picked up a little bit of an injury. And so we didn't have him for about a little over the last week. But in those 4 or 5 days, it was really impressive. And you just see the same things that we saw in all the video scouting and all the live scouting that we did with the player. He's extremely technically gifted, and he does things at a very, very rapid rate. He's got tremendous speed, quickness, agility, good 1v1 player with the ball. And so we were seeing all those little signs showing up. And then he picked up the injury, which unfortunately kept him out now for the last week to week and a half. But he should be working back into things this week, and we still have 4 weeks of preseason left. So I couldn't be happier again with his signing and the small signs that we saw over the first week.
We'll take 3 more questions. Alicia?
Jason, when you came in, you made a few small changes the second half of the season when you first got here, some more changes last year. Now, do you feel that after this season and these acquisitions, this is a rebuild under you that's complete, and this current group represents the vision you were going for?
Yes. Yes, and I've been asked that question multiple times before, and I've always kind of skirted around it the best I could. The truth of the matter is, as coach and general manager, when you come into a new group, you are going to be restricted by certain things. Some of those things are contracts. And you don't always have the ability to move the players that you feel like you should. And we collectively, Alex, myself, Flavio, and Nikki, made a very solid plan a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, in that we decided we just needed to tinker around the edges, as he alluded to at the beginning. And some of that was, we didn't quite have as many options as maybe we would have liked. And so we felt very positive that if we just tinkered around the edges and were a little bit better, we'd be a playoff team, because it was a club that had missed the playoffs just barely 2 years in a row. So the general consensus was that was a good plan. And as Alex alluded to as well, we feel like the rest of the Eastern Conference got markedly better, and we got a little bit better. And so at the end, it wasn't good enough. Now, this offseason, we went into it and said, now we basically have a clean slate. We can really do what we want with all of the players, and I think that we took a very aggressive approach to that. And I at the end of it, I can tell you, adding one more player in, I will be able to sit and tell you that, yes, this is now our group in our vision.
Mike Ramajo?
Coach, that's actually a 2-part question. What's the update on Yuri Rosell? When is he expected to arrive? And second, obviously last year, goal scoring was probably one of the problems that was pretty persistent throughout, especially towards the end of the season. Do you feel like you guys addressed some of those weaknesses during the offseason with Miram, Kleshin, Coleman? I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, first, Yuri Rosell is having a little bit of visa issues, because at first we were going to bring him in a certain way, and then we found out he needed to actually stay and get his work visa and everything sorted out, and so we expect that he should join us within about a week to 10 days. Really, really eager to get him in the group, of course, because we think he's going to be an important player. And then as far as the goal scoring goes, I honestly would tell you that I don't think that we went into this offseason saying we need to get better in the goal scoring, but not the defense. Last year at this time, I really felt like the goals are there. We just need to shore things up defensively. But looking back on things from last year, I would say that we feel we need to improve everywhere. And that's how we've gone into this offseason, is try to identify the players that we feel are the right ones that should stay, and to go out and get all kinds of new ones to complement that group. So I would say that I think that we're going to be better. We need to be better on both sides of the ball.
And Nigel?
Question for Jason on this. In terms of tactics, how has the game changed since you were a player and then first as a coach and now as a coach? And dare I ask, how are we going to see the side put out on the field in the formation or tactical side of things?
I'll answer the last question first, because you may ask, you just won't get an answer. And then for the first part, that's a difficult answer, to how tactics were different when I was a player to early days as a coach to now. I think that it's interesting that the league and the game tends to take on very positive or very identifiable trends tactically. I think the big trend now out there is to play with 3 defenders. For me, it's 5 defenders. It's not really 3 defenders. We can call it 3 or 5, whatever you like, just if you're more defensive or offensive. That seems to be what's in vogue right now. It's never been something that I've been too comfortable with, so I would say I don't think you can expect us to play with 3 or 5 backs. But, early on in my coaching days in Real Salt Lake, after gaining some measure of consistent success, the next thing I knew, I turned around and everybody was trying to play a diamond in the midfield. And so for me, it goes through ebbs and flows. And at the end of it all, I think sometimes that there's a little bit too much weight put into the tactical side of things. I think sometimes that's can be coaches trying to pat themselves on the back about how well they're coaching. And so for me, at the end of it all, and I do believe this, I do think that coaches have a very big role in the development of the team and of doing the right things. But I still think it's a player's game.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Alex.